everyone, welcome to week 9 of Rogue Cooking CSA Style. I'm Becky and today we are featuring 3 recipes that feature everyone's favorite summer squash. Now for those of you who have your own gardens and are growing squash, you might feel a little overwhelmed. These plants can be quite productive, and I even know some friends who play tricks on each other by leaving squash on each other's doorsteps. So if you're like me, when I have an abundance of squash, I like to get super busy in the kitchen and figure out what to do with it. So today we're going to be making 3 recipes that feature zucchini. We're going to be making zucchini Parmesan crisps, which are going to be delicious with our dinner tonight. We're going to be making zucchini fritters, which also feature the onions that were in the box today. And lastly, we are going to be making some zucchini bread pancakes for breakfast. And all 3 of these recipes I found at the Ashland Food Co-op, which is a very useful place to find great ideas for using your local produce. Okay, so the first recipe is the zucchini Parmesan crisps. So this uses 2 zucchini, medium size, and they're going to be sliced into 1/4 inch rounds, as I've already prepared here. So whichever kind of summer squash you choose to do, any kind of thin-skinned summer squash works well. And I've gone ahead and sliced them into 1/4 inch rounds. And you're going to either melt some butter or use 1 egg, lightly beaten with a fork, and that's going to help everything adhere to the squash. And we've got a mixture of breadcrumbs and salt and pepper and Parmesan cheese that are going to be breading the zucchini as well. So the assembly line looks something like this. You go ahead and start with your zucchini rounds, and I'm opting for butter because I have someone in my household who doesn't eat eggs, but either work just fine. Go ahead and just dredge it in the butter, then transfer it to the breadcrumb mixture, and I like to just kind of sprinkle it on top in addition to kind of patting it or rolling it in the mixture. And then go ahead and transfer it to a baking sheet. And you're going to just do this assembly line style. It gets a little messy, but pretty delicious. And in this breadcrumb mixture, I've got approximately a 1/2 cup of dry breadcrumbs, a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, and salt and pepper to taste. I went ahead and threw in some garlic powder and some all-purpose seasoning in there as well, just to make them extra flavorful. And one tip that I have for you about breadcrumbs, I like to have these on hand, and I don't know about you, but I have people in my house who forget to put the loaf of bread away, and invariably the piece of bread on the end gets a little stale. And rather than feeling frustrated and irritated, I go ahead and use that to make breadcrumbs. And so I had a couple of pieces of bread that was starting to go stale. I left it out on a plate for the afternoon until it got really stale, and then I just threw it in the food processor and instantly had some really nice breadcrumbs, which I keep in a mason jar in the freezer. So once you have all of your zucchini coins, as I'll call them, assembled on the baking sheet, you're going to go ahead and put them into a very hot oven, 450 degrees, for 15 minutes on each side. You're going to go ahead and flip them after 15 minutes, so they'll be in for a total of about 30 minutes. And while they are in the oven cooking, we are going to go ahead and cook up some zucchini fritters. And zucchini fritters are super awesome because they're really, really simple. While I was preparing the zucchini, I went ahead and just shredded a couple cups of zucchini. So this is probably the equivalent of about 1.5 zucchinis. And I went ahead and made a batter. And in this batter, I have a 1/2 cup of onion, which was in our box today, about 1.5 zucchini shredded. And then I have salt and pepper, a little bit of flour, just under about a 1/2 cup, and also an egg to kind of hold it all together. Again, I have someone in the house who doesn't eat eggs, so I used egg replacer, and it seems like it's going to be just fine in here as a batter. And the idea here is that we want it to be, we want it to hold together, not unlike a pancake batter, but you don't want so much flour that it dominates. You really want the zucchini to shine through. Okay, so once you have the batter prepared and the pan nice and hot with a couple tablespoons of oil, you're going to go ahead and just drop big dollops of the batter. And you're going to cook them on each side until they're nice and golden brown. Okay, so these are nice and brown, a little bit greasy, which is not a bad thing when it comes to zucchini fritters. And they are ready to come off the pan. And we also have our first batch of zucchini Parmesan crisps done. They are gorgeous, they are fragrant, they are absolutely delicious. As my daughter says, they're like casserole in a bite. They're really, really good. So that's where we're at for tonight. We're gonna go ahead and finish this meal off with a green salad and a little bit of the rosemary focaccia from Rise Up that we got in our box, and a smear of pesto goat cheese from Mama Terra. It's gonna be delicious. Good morning. So now we've got part 3 of our zucchini trifecta of recipes for this week. Zucchini bread pancakes. So if you're a fan of zucchini bread, if you're a fan of pancakes, I think this recipe is gonna make you really happy. And I did get this recipe, I picked it up at the Ashland Food Co-op the other day. Some fabulous, fabulous cooking ideas for using your local vegetables. So what we're going to do is put together our zucchini batter. I've gone ahead and have already started in this bowl 2 eggs, a couple tablespoons of oil. I've got a couple tablespoons of brown sugar in here mixing up. And now I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/4 cup of buttermilk. Now here's my buttermilk trick for you. I didn't have any buttermilk on hand, but if you do the same amount of regular milk and then add just a dash of either vinegar or lemon juice, you will get the same flavor result as buttermilk. You want that kind of tangy, slightly sour flavor, and that's what you will get. So we've got the liquid ingredients going in here. We've got also a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And now I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cups of the shredded zucchini. Another handy use for that shredded zucchini, which you can prep ahead of time. And we're going to mix those liquid ingredients in with that yummy, yummy summer squash. And now we're going to go ahead and put the dry ingredients in a second bowl. I've got a cup of flour that I'm going to mix with, and any kind of flour works. So if you prefer to avoid wheat flour, you can use whatever kind of baking flour you use. And then I've got salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, and baking soda that we're going to mix in with that. And we're going to get those nice and mixed up. So now that we've got that batter mixed together beautifully, it really does smell like zucchini bread. I can't wait. So we're going to go ahead and do 1/4 cupfuls of the batter onto a nice hot skillet. Could use cast iron, or I've got a nice big flat pan that I like to use for pancakes. And you want to make sure they're not touching so that they get nice and brown and crisp on the edges. And then some of us in the house like walnuts and some of us don't. So rather than spoiling the batter for those who don't, I'm going to go ahead and just sprinkle walnuts on 1 or 2 of these so that I can enjoy them. We're going to let those cook until they're golden brown on both sides. Okay, there you have it. They're golden brown and delicious, and topped with a little bit of butter and maple syrup. They're going to make a wonderful breakfast. So there you have it, zucchini 3 ways for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. See you next week.